Hello everyone, and welcome back to Jesse Heck Creative. Today we're going over the MCU Marvel Legends Odin and Loki from Thor. Let's get to it. So here's Odin. Let's take a look at him. As far as Odin goes, he has this really nice crown. You know, it really curly. He has the sort of like winged sort of ear things that Thor does, so that's pretty interesting. It also has the sort of like horns like Loki has, which is pretty interesting. It's kind of two sides of the same coin, even though Loki is basically adopted. It fits really nicely over this head right over here, but also it fits nicely over this head over here. So that's pretty cool. I think it's a little more snug on the other one, but that's because it just, wore into it. As far as the two heads go, popping this off, we have a smiling head and we have a sort of frowning head. The eye patch on both looks really nice. The smiling head doesn't really look much like Anthony Hopkins to me. This one does. But then again, I haven't really seen Thor in a while, or Anthony Hopkins for that matter. So yeah, they both look good as far as paint goes. The beard is pretty silvery. The hair looks really nice. The hair is better on this one than this one just because there's a seam line right over here, which is kind of a shame, but live what you get with, I guess. The ears look really nice on this, although they look better on this one than that one. So there's a couple pros and cons with each character as it goes, but they're still pretty good heads for, both characters. Just here's the smiling portrait on his body. Looks pretty nice. Although I'm a fan of the more stoic one. The neck looks nice with some good striations and a couple wrinkles here and there. So that's a nice touch. We also have this body piece right over here. This armor looks really good. It has sort of pauldrons right over here, sort of for the shoulders. Looks really nice. These sort of like pieces right there. He has some armor over here. Some it reminds you of dragon scales in a way. Going over here down the arm. We have a gauntlet going over here with this nice hand with a trigger finger for some reason. He has another hand that has a trigger finger over here. They're both up and down hinge, for that staff he has. We'll touch on that a little bit later. That's pretty cool. He also comes with a fist for, this side as well. It's the side-to-side hinge as opposed to up and down, as well as this hand over here, this sort of like calling out hand being a side-to-side hinge as well. That works out pretty nice. His pants are a nice brown. The greaves over here are pretty cool. They're very like pointy and stuff. They also have a leather portion as well as a metal portion down here. His boots are really nice that tie into it. It all looks out pretty good and works out well. His cape is really nice, very standard, plain, but it's a wonderful cape. I love it. It's good for comic characters. It's good for the MCU characters. And it has a little peg in the back too. Just going to slot that in and it works out fine. The hole is a little bit bigger than the peg, but whatever, I'll take what I can get. It's actually a pretty nice piece. It works out really well. So this guy looks really good. Now, what's bad about him? There's a couple striations in here that just don't really work for me, Some sort of marbling and whatnot that just kind of throws it off for me. I luckily found a pretty good one with not too many, mistakes or complaints. So I'll give it a pass. There's some nice weathering over here as well. And that works out nice for me, I guess. Going over articulation is pretty simple. He has a dumbbell neck over here. He gets a lot of good range and articulation in that, as well as I think the inside of the neck too can move as well. It's a separate piece. Putting this back on, we go up with the arm, crashes in the shoulder, go around, not that far. The shoulder actually is a part of the arm, so that's pretty cool. I'm glad they did that. This side you don't get as much because of the cape. It goes up this far with pinless tech going for the elbows. Goes down. I already mentioned this going around and then up and down. The opposite hand does the same thing, and the two extra hands do the opposite, going in and out, I guess. Well, this one goes in and out, and you get the picture. I've done these reviews a million times before. Goes around this far, swivel all the way around with a nice sort of G.I. Joe type joint down here. That's great. Give us more G.I. Joe type joints, Hasbro, for Marvel Legends. Goes out this far, down, up this far, back, swivel up here. Pinless tech. Not really that great on the, weird. Won't really go that far. That's a shame. The other one, same thing. Yeah, bad knees on this guy. Well, he's pretty old. So, going down over here and then up really far. Down not so far. And then swivel. It's actually more of a swivel. You get kind of a rocker also within. I like these kind of joints actually. You have the ball up top and then the swivel down below, so you get some nice rotation, good range. But it doesn't save him from falling because his cape is pretty heavy. He does have ankle pivot and two peg holes at the bottom of his feet, along with all the info that used to be on the back of the thighs. So overall, Odin is a nice figure. He has some good accessories, yet he just doesn't really stand all that well for me. He's good at standing like as a look for his character, and not really much for action scenes, but he can't even stand. So I gotta flaw him for that. He isn't my favorite figure of the line. He does come with this staff though, which is pretty cool. It's very simple, pretty cool. It's neat. It has a lot of like pretty nice details on the inside, but when you look from afar, it's just a staff. So it kind of, sours it in my book, at least. I would pick him up on clearance if I were you. Odin's just okay. He's not my favorite. The head sculpts are just fine, and the trigger finger is kind of weird on him. But yeah, he's Anthony Hopkins, so pick him up while he's still alive, I guess. Odin stands at about 6¼ inches tall, but 7 inches tall when he's wearing his crown, and his staff is at around 7¼ inches tall, so his staff is a full inch taller than him. Here's Odin next to your generic suited body Tony Stark and Jesse Heck Creative. Oh, this crown looks amazing! Thank you so much, Odin! Now I can go see Santa Claus and trick him into thinking I'm one of his reindeer, and then take all his presents when he isn't looking. Hello everyone, and thank you so much for watching so far. Make sure to click like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. You can also click the bell icon for more creativity. Now let's get back to it. So here's Loki. I think he's actually a pretty good figure. He looks really accurate to the character in the film. So let's check him out. He has these huge horns right over here, and I gotta say, this is a pretty good accessory, this helmet. It looks really nice from the front. From the side and the back, it's just the same plastic. Hasbro, why do you gotta be doing that? I'm just kind of appalled that they're doing this. It's like, doesn't really make much sense to me. It's kind of just annoying how this is with, this kind of, detail or lack thereof on the, figure. We have this nice sort of widow's peak thing that fits in with his head, and that works out pretty well for his face, but I don't know. I'm just, not plussed with the fact that it's not painted all the way around. It's great for like a front shot, but not much else. As far as Loki goes himself, his face looks pretty dead-eyed, very kind of scary, like in the movie. His hair is cut short in the back, and I get that for articulation, but as far as him without the helmet, doesn't really work all that well for me, having him really short hair. I'm not sure if he had long hair in the movie, but I digress. It kind of looks like Tom Hiddleston a little bit, but it also could be anybody else. Very generic, very bland and plain. The blue eyes are a nice touch, and the eyebrows being thin is really good. The more I look at it, the more I see Tom Hiddleston, but it just looks too bland for it not to be him. The cape back here is really nice, actually. It has some gold over here, but it has some green, but not really any texture to it as far as cape texture would go. It has a little peg. You can slot it in the back. And the back, it looks really nice. We'll never really see it, though. It's a nice, pliable sort of coat material. It has a little bit of green, some gold, some gray over here. Looks really good. And plugging this cape into the back looks really nice. You got to fit it with the shoulders a bit, but that's fine, I guess, with that. He has nice gold over here, some gray, a little bit of like glossy black on his sort of like boots. He has this nice like green with going over here with a yellow buckle, this sort of like golden yellow buckle. Looks very good. Some armor up here, more armor on the sides over here. He has his flesh tone on his hands and on his head. Looks really good actually. He's a pretty nicely built figure. And the sculpt, does him well. It looks like I could see Loki, in this whole thing, even the face. So going over the articulation, his head goes all the way around, swivels, doesn't really go up or down too much. It's very limited. The arm goes up this far, hindered by this plate, goes down, swivels all the way around. Swivels over here at the bicep, and the armor with it, which is pretty nice. We also get a pretty good articulation as far as the elbow goes. Very nice bend over there. Goes down. Swivel only, no hinge at the arm for the outstretched one, and swivel only, no hinge for this one as well. Kind of weird. It's the early days, so I give him a pass. The coat's movable a little bit. He has a waist twist right over here. His articulation, below the belt is kind of iffy. It isn't really an actual ball hinge or anything. It's just a hinge that goes, I think, up and out, I would guess, but it's hindered a lot by this cloak. It goes farther over here. It cannot go forward, and it cannot go back. Not well, I don't think, without breaking something. It goes back this far, and even then, moving this joint is kind of tough, but it actually goes back pretty far, which is really nice. Works out really well for me. It swivels at the top, no swivel at the calf or the bottom, goes down and up and pivot, and something just broke off. That's kind of weird. Whatever this is fell off the middle of it, I guess. Let me see if this one does anything, if I break anything loose on this figure. That's kind of a shame. So it's a little bit looser now, I guess. I don't know. I'm just going to keep on going with the review. 2 pegos at the bottom of the feet, and all the stuff, I guess, is on the... Yeah, it's on the back of the leg, but you will barely be able to see it because of this, non-pliable cloak. That's kind of like, frustrating to me. Taking a peek at the articulation down here, it's some kind of weird joint that I can't really decipher. It looks like a ball joint, but, I'm not really going to try to, force it or flex it. Yeah, so that's Loki. He has kind of poor articulation, and it's kind of not really that shiny. I wish he was more shiny. That's a shame. The only thing that should be really shiny is the Tesseract in here, but that's kind of a metallic blue, which is kind of weird. This nice gold over here matches the gold pretty much on his armor. Maybe a little bit more, shiny, I guess, a little better. The silver is a little lackluster, and the point of the blade doesn't really, point as well as I want it to. It looks pretty okay, and it's alright, as far as Loki's scepter goes, but it could be way, way better. Putting the helmet back on Loki makes him look a little more like Loki in a way, and putting the cape on definitely completes the look. But this staff, it's pretty easy to put in his hand. He's going to put it this way, and sort of like shove it in, and then give it a little twist, and you're fine. I recommend him holding it beyond this little put out right over here. Or you could have him put his thumb right below it and have him hold a really tighter grip on that. So yeah, that's Loki for you. He's okay. He looks the part, but the articulation doesn't really sell it. So yeah, that's Loki. Loki stands at about 6 inches tall, maybe 6 3/4 inches to the top of his horns. Big horns. Yep. Here's Loki next to Tony Stark. They look good together. Actually, kind of the same size, interestingly enough. Loki, I think, should be a tiny bit taller than him. That's interesting. Maybe it's real life size where they're both really short guys. But yeah, they look pretty good together. And also here's Jesse Heck Creative. Okay, now that you've given me your hat, make lunch for me and sing about me while doing it. Go, come on. Overall, we have 2 lackluster figures with good accessories, good paint, good sculpt, yet the articulation really suffers on both of them. Odin is a masterclass in looking really great, but failing miserably everywhere else. His sculpt is really nice and brand new, looks really shiny, pinless tech everywhere, yet the articulation suffers and he can't really stand all that well. His joints are kind of gummy and don't really hold up to him actually standing. The cape, as good as it looks, is a hindrance to the character. The face sculpts, as good as they look, don't really look like Anthony Hopkins. They're kind of a shame to me. The hands have trigger fingers in them inexplicably when they should be just regular old holding hands. The best parts about him are the crown and the staff, and I'm going to probably take those and put them on anybody else, and they could be a way better Odin than he would be. Loki is another story. He's a 10-year-old sculpt that looks good, I would guess, but just sort of suffers in articulation once again, similar to his stepfather, Odin. The face sculpt could be really improved. It's kind of dead and really creepy looking. The cloak is the best part. It looks really nice with those nice armor pieces. The tunic needs a lot of work, could be a little more pliable. The legs could have more articulation, especially near the feet or so. You could probably put some, swivels in there and they would work really nice. The arms look really nice though. I like those. Those are pretty good. The cloak is pretty cool. It works out really well. Actually, might put in a different Loki or something. The helmet could use better paint though. It needs a lot more shininess to it, as does a lot of his armor. And the scepter looks cool, but it could use a little more detail and a little better paint on it. Overall, both these figures need better articulation and probably a little bit of, touch-ups here and there to be really, really good figures. I hope they make a Loki sometime soon that would really just, blow this one out of the water and retire it for good. But until then, we'll wait for Loki as Jesse Heck Creative continues. Thank you so much for watching Jesse Heck Creative. Feel free to click like, subscribe, share, or leave a comment. You can also visit us at jesseheckcreative.com, where you'll find more reviews like this one. Thanks again for watching and keep being creative. Stay tuned.